Can you really build an app without coding? Most people would say no. But with the rise of AI agents, super powerful LLMs, and vibe coding, the rules have now changed forever in the software development landscape. So today, I'm going to try to test it out and see if we are able to actually create an app from scratch just by prompting Copilot agent. Alright, so let me just share a bit about the idea. So this is the idea over here. It's a very simple app where imagine you're this user over here. You're lonely and want to talk to somebody. Yes, you are very bored and you don't know what to do. So you click on the connect button. Click. And then it connects you with another person and it just gets you a random person to talk to. So you can talk to this random person over here. And you can form a very good and happy relationship. And then you won't be lonely anymore. Yep, so that is the very basic idea for the app. It will be a chat messaging app between two random people. So now that we have the idea, let's try to come up with a prompt to feed into our Copilot agent to actually build the app. So in order to create a good prompt to actually feed into Copilot, I went over to ChatGPT, and over here I'm going to ask it to create a prompt for me. So first I'll give it some context. I am trying to create a web application where users are able to click on a button to be connected to another random user and initiates a chat between both users. So that's the base concept for our app. Then now we give it the task. I need a prompt to feed into Copilot to generate such an app. Then we can also try to specify the framework that we want. I want to use React. I want to use the React framework, and the app should have a modern and clean style using Tailwind CSS. Maybe for this part, we also put it in the context itself. Alright, so that looks good. Now let's generate the prompt. Oh yeah, and I also forgot about the database, but let's ask if we need a database. Alright, so it looks like we don't need a database, so it looks like this prompt is good enough for us. So let's copy that prompt, and we'll create a new project in VS Code. Alright, so over here I have a brand new folder with nothing inside. So let's go ahead and pass in the prompt. For this, I'll be using the Claude Sonnet 4 model because I think it's the best model for coding out there. Now let's take our prompt, copy it, and we'll paste it here. And now let's see if with just one single prompt, the AI model is actually able to create and generate the whole app for us. Alright, so this should take a while, but I'll see you when it's done generating. Alright, so it looks like it generated some instructions for itself and what it needs to do. And then it looks like we need to create a Vite React project. So let's continue, and it'll run the command in the terminal for us. So that's one of the so it'll run the command in the terminal for us over here. And then it'll just continue, I think, ticking off what it needs to do. So then it'll go on to scaffold the project, customize the project, install required extensions, compile the project, create and run, and then launch the project for us. Then over here it'll also do some documentation for us so that in the future, if you want to go inside and actually understand the project, understand where all the components are, what we can change to actually change the components in our project, it also has documentation for us. So that's very good. Yes, we'll install Vite. Alright, so it looks like we're just going through and installing Tailwind and CSS now. Right, so we are installing all of the packages so that everything works well together. Alright, so looks like it's done with that, and now it's creating the back end. So we have a backend folder over here, and this should be where the backend logic of our app resides in. Right, then now it's actually creating the front end application. So it's done scaffolding the project, and now it's actually going to customize the project, which is the next step. Testing. Wow. This is amazing. Alright, so it looks like it's actually done with all of the source files over here. So this is all the front end, and it linked it up with our backend, Chibi. So now it's trying to run npm run build to check if we're actually able to build the app. Looks like we aren't able to build. That's because we're in the backend folder. So now we are exiting out to our chat folder and running npm run build. So hopefully it builds without any errors, but I'm highly skeptical that, yeah. So it looks like the build failed because of Tailwind CSS. So now we're trying to install Tailwind CSS. And that's also one of the greatest things about agents over here, is that it's able to actually read the context from your terminal itself. Now let's try npm run build again. Looks like we're not getting the Tailwind CSS error anymore. Alright, and it looks like actually is successful in building the production build. Alright, so it checked off the task over here, and now it's going to create and run task. So it looks like it just ran the project, and we are able to access it here. Alright, so it looks like our backend server is running on localhost 5000. Now it's creating the documentation. I think I cancelled the front end just now, so most likely the front end isn't running anymore. Yep, the front end isn't running. The back end is running though, so let's see. Looks like there was an error, but the back end is fine. It still looks like the documentation is done. Let's quickly give it a look. And let's see how to actually run it using VS Code tasks. So we can actually run it like that. So Ctrl+Shift+P, run task, Ctrl+Shift+P, tasks, run task. This one. Then we'll choose these. So we start back end first. Then we do the same for the front end. Oops, what happened? Yep, then we do the same for the back end. The front end, I mean. Alright, so both of them seem to be running. Now let's open the front end and hopefully it works. Okay, so it looks like it's still using the default HTML styling. But let's see what happens if we find a chat partner. And let me open it again. Alright, seems like we actually connected with the random chat user. Let's see, hi. Alright, so yeah, it looks like it actually worked. Awesome, so the app itself actually worked. If we disconnect, looks like, yeah, we disconnected over here. Then if we reload, it will actually bring us to the home page itself. If we have multiple users, duplicate. So these two are connected, but the last user is not connected. Very nice. If we disconnect, yeah, we have to disconnect here as well. Okay, so looks like the app functionality actually works pretty well. It's just the styling. So let's just tell our Copilot agent over here that the styling is not being applied. And hopefully it'll be able to fix the styling so that at least our app doesn't look so bad. Yeah, but I'm actually really impressed in what we were able to achieve just with one single prompt that was generated by ChatGPT over here. So with this simple prompt, we were actually able to get our Copilot agent to code out an entire application for us. And mind you, the chat functionality is not very simple to code up yourself. Alright, so it looks like we are uninstalling some packages to maybe reinstall some of the packages. Alright, looks like we're still getting an error over here. So let me just paste the error inside. So in my previous projects, I also realized that this is one of the more common problems, especially with Copilot. It's unable to actually integrate Tailwind CSS properly. It can do normal CSS, but for some reason when trying to integrate Tailwind CSS, so it always runs into this issue where it doesn't apply the CSS properly. Right, so it looks like there's a version misconfiguration. So it's telling us to delete Tailwind CSS version 4 and install version 3 instead, because there's the more stable version. Alright, so yeah, now when we load the app, it was actually able to fix the styling misconfiguration, and that was because of a version incompatibility with version 4 compared to version 3. So now we have proper CSS over here. If we go inside, it looks pretty good, I must say so myself. Right, so now it's running in 5173. We go inside, very nice. Now we see that we have this chat over here. Try to find a partner, and we open two windows. Okay, you can see that we're actually connected to each other now. We send a message, you see that it also updates in real time, which is really nice. You can see little animations as well. And if we have a third user, let's just test the functionality out completely. We try to find a partner. We are actually unable to find one because these two users are already chatting with each other. We disconnect, and then we find another partner again. You can see that now these two users are connected to each other, and this one is no longer connected. Right, so yeah, I think that's actually project done and dusted. So in such a short period of time, we were actually able to create a pretty complicated project which includes a chat function as well as a pairing function between two users. We didn't even need a database. It did up all the back end for us as well as the front end, which looks pretty good. And the whole functionality is actually there inside the app itself. Not only did it create the app, it also created documentation for us. So the documentation, which I believe is over here in the README file, is pretty comprehensive. So it tells us how to actually run the app, how to clone the app, how to run the app, and how to actually further develop the app as well. So some final thoughts and some reflections of my own on this whole process. I think it's a great tool which is really able to spin up an MVP fast and quickly. But there are still some downsides, such as that Tailwind CSS problem that we encountered just now. If you have not used Tailwind CSS before, you may not know the problem, and the LLM may also keep on iteratively try to fix a solution and then still run into the same problem and then try to deliver the same solution as well. And it'll just go in this vicious cycle of it trying to run the same solution and reverting its changes, which will lead you nowhere. So you still need to do your own research, understand code, how to actually program. So you're like that final check to make sure that the LLM is actually heading in the right direction. And what I liked about what the agent actually did before actually implementing all of the files or creating the backend, creating the source files, is that it actually created this file over here, the copilot-instructions.md. So this is actually a very well generated file which lists down specifically all the steps that it needs to take in order to actually create our application for us. So it sort of decomposes the complex problem of building an application into different steps, different actionable steps, so that it can actually track which stage is in, what it has to do exactly, and will be able to implement that feature much faster. Alright, if you're interested in learning how to harness the full power of these LLMs, agentic AI agents, check out this video over here where I teach you how to use context engineering and walk you through step by step on how to actually use context engineering to really supercharge your development. Check it out right now.